Motion to come out of executive session.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay.
In closed session. Sorry about that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Certification closed session. Pursuant to subsection 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, each member of the Board of Supervisors upon roll call certifies that to the best of their knowledge, only business public matters were lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters that were identified in the motions by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the Board of Supervisors. Any member of the Board of Supervisors who believes that there was a departure from the requirements shall state so prior to the vote, indicating the substance of the departure that in his or her judgment has taken place. Are there any supervisors who believe a departure has taken place? Seeing none. If you agree that the matters heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting were pursuant only to the motions by which the closed meeting was convened, please signify by saying yea or yes. Tim Lovelace.
Yes.
Luann Wallace.
Yes.
Carl Ray.
Yes.
David Eaton.
Yes.
Steve Brady.
Yes.
Boris Christian.
Yes.
Rebecca Dye.
Yes.
Ma'am, you have approval to return to regular session.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have our invocation and remain standing for the pledge, please. Thank you.
Father God, Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we praise you today, Father. Father, we thank you for this holiday season, Father, and we thank you for allowing us to meet together. We ask you to bless this meeting, help us use what you've given us so that we may go out and spread your name, Father. Father, you tell us during the trials to give you praise, so tonight we're going to give you praise, Father. For it's in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, I'd like to make some amendments to our agenda. We need to add a planning commission appointment under number 4, board appointments. We have a resignation and an appointment back in that position. Also, under our county attorney, number 4, we have information from the Southwest Virginia Regional Jail Authority agreement, and Ms. Katie will be discussing that. And under the county administrator request, number 8, we need to add that. It's a VDOT resolution for Route 743. So with those items, I'll take a motion to amend our agenda.
Madam Chair, where did you say number 1 went on the board appointments? Do I even have that?
No, he just added that.
It's under
To,
you.
it's under
Thank you.
the Finney Community Center. We'll add that your board appointment. We have the resignation, and then the new one back. All right, and 4 is under county attorney, and then a number 8 under request for the county administrator.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we amend the agenda as you've stated.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
David, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, the first thing we have is to turn our meeting over to our county administrator for the organizational meeting, first board meeting of the year.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First thing on the agenda, the organizational meeting is selection of the chairman of Russell County Board of Supervisors.
I'd like to nominate Lou Wallace for that position.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I'd like to
Right.
nominate David Eaton.
Any others?
Is there any others?
Sorry about that.
It's a habit.
Old habits hard to break.
So the first one, we have Luann Wallace, is that correct? And in the second one, we have David Eaton. Is there any other nominations? Since there's no other nomination, I need a move to cease all nominations and then be closed.
Move to cease all nominations.
Since it's been moved to, that all nominations for the chairman has now been closed, if there's no other nominations to the nominations are closed. We will proceed with the vote in reverse order. First with David Eaton and then Mrs. Wallace in reverse order for the nomination of the Russell County Board of Supervisors chairperson. David Eaton. Raise of hands. Can I see that? 3. Okay. Mrs. Wallace? Mrs. Wallace, congratulations as the Russell County Board of Supervisors chairperson.
Thank you. So we'll continue on, and please, the public, excuse me, I'm suffering from a tiny little cold tonight, so I'm all masked up. Anyway, we'll move on to the organizational meeting with the election of the vice chair. I'll take a motion from the board for vice chair.
I'll nominate Oris Christian.
Okay, we have a nomination for Oris Christian. Do we have another one?
I'll nominate Carl Ray.
We have a nomination for Carl Ray. Any more? Okay, we'll take it in reverse order. Carl Ray for vice chair of the Russell County Board of Supervisors. All in favor? We have 3. Okay, for Oris Christian for vice chair. Thank you, the motion carries. Oris Christian is now the vice chair of the Russell County Board of Supervisors. Moving on in the organizational meeting for clerk of the board and deputy clerk.
Does that mean Vicky?
We'll make a motion to nominate or to elect Alonzo Lester as clerk and Vicky Porter as the deputy clerk.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Lester as clerk and Ms. Porter as deputy clerk. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Adoption of the county's bylaws. Those are in your packet.
I'll make a motion we adopt the latest version of Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank you. We have a motion for the Robert's Rules of Order adoption.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And we also, going on to number 5 in the organizational meeting, is adoption of county bylaws.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Mr. Eaton and Mr. Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? I'm sorry. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Number 6 in the organizational meeting, 2022 Board of Supervisors regular scheduled meetings. That is in your packet.
I'll make a motion we adopt the meeting dates as listed. That would be at 6 p.m. It's listed on page 1 of the agenda or board packet.
We have a motion from Mr. Breeding to adopt the scheduling as presented in your packet.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Lovelace. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next, moving on to acknowledgements. We have an acknowledgement in our packet by Dr. Rex Road, Russell County Lifetime Achievement Award. Mr. Lester, do you need to discuss that?
No, ma'am. Can we approve the budget schedule also?
Where is that?
Number 7. Number 7.
Page, bottom of page.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, the FY 22-23 budget meeting schedule, yes.
Motion to approve that schedule.
Thank you.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Eating. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We don't need to say anything more about that, right? Because the schedule is in there
It is,
for the
ma'am.
budget
Yes, ma'am,
committee.
it is.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the acknowledgement for Dr. Norman Rexroad.
Lou, I'm gonna pass this down to you, dear.
This is not handy to mash this little microphone and talk at the same time. The presentation for Dr. Norman Rexroad, he is a West Virginia University Medical School graduate of 1978, East Tennessee State University, a residence and internship hospital in 1980, board certified in emergency medication. He became a member of the Russell County medical staff in September the 10th of 1983, served in various positions at Russell County, including most recently the Secretary-Treasurer of the Medical Executive Committee, served as Chief of the Emergency Medicine as well as various leadership positions within the hospital. In 2010, Mountain States Health Alliance Servants Heart recipient. In 2021, the Governor's EMS Award for Physician and Outstanding Contribution to EMS awarded the Frank M. Yiser Trophy. And at this time, we'll present to Dr. Rexroad a Lifetime Achievement Award, outstanding in recognition of outstanding emergency medical service and commitment to leadership and involvement for the citizens of Russell County.
Please come up, Dr. Rexroad.
We need a photo op. Come up here. Nobody can speak.
Thank you for everything, Dr. Day.
And I've already read this, that's okay, that's okay.
Tell us when to be, Caleb.
You go first.
Can you see everyone? I want to make sure everyone's in there.
Everybody like that?
You're right, can you see us all?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just with him, I'm smiling.
We're smiling. Thank you.
Heather would have done a better job than I am.
Do what?
Heather would have done.
Oh, shut up. Is the microphone on?
Get you a watch a tire to a wire tonight. We knew we finally got you out of your scrubs. I've seen you out of scrubs in 20 years. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you, bro.
Okay, at this time, we'll, moving on to presentations. We do ask that you have a limit of about 5 minutes. And the first one is the Russell County PSA.
Okay, in lieu of the presentation by the PSA, we met with them in closed session to discuss some legal issues. So, at the request of the Russell County PSA, I will make a motion to temporarily suspend Mr. Carter McLaughlin as a board member of the Russell County PSA, as there are currently criminal charges against Mr. McLaughlin for the alleged use of public property.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to temporarily suspend Mr. McLaughlin from the Russell County PSA. Any further discussion on the matter? I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes, I currently work part-time with the PSA and I'll be abstaining.
Thank you so much.
I also abstain.
We have 2 abstentions. Did you get that, Vicki? Okay. All right, moving on. Presentations, litter ordinance. Mr. Hancock.
She's not here.
See?
Okay. Moving on to new business, approval of the minutes, and consider approval of the minutes of the following meeting of the Russell County Board of Supervisors. That's in your packet under D1. Unapproved minutes of December 6, 2021.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Eaton,
Second.
second by Mr. Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to new business number 2, approval of expenditures. Consider approval of expenditures presented for payment.
Motion to approve,
You
Madam Chair.
just missed it. Oh,
Got it.
sorry. They just bypassed it. Well,
I
that's all right.
included that in the other one, so we took that in.
Thank
I guess that's okay, right?
you.
Motion to approve payment of bills.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Madam Chair, I see Mr. Hancock just walked through the door here.
Yes, I was unavoidably detained.
Okay. At the chair's pleasure, let me move through new business and we'll go back to presentations, if you may. Anybody have a problem with that? Okay, thank you. All right, number 3, new business, approval of 2022 authorized payments.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Mr. Breeding, do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Mr. Eaton, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Number 4, committee appointments for board consideration. And I think we have, at this time, the budget committee. Is this that? I'm not on that
Yes,
page.
ma'am.
Okay. So the chair's pleasure for board appointment for budget is Rebecca Dye, I'm asking. Ms. Dye? Yes. And Mr. Christian. Will you agree to serve on the budget committee for this year? Thank you so much. Next one, we move on to the board appointments for Finney Community Center. Mr. Ray, is that yours?
Yes, Madam Chair. Can I do both of these at the same time as Brett?
I think you can do this as a block.
You can't.
All right.
All right, I'd like to put Mr. David Compton and Mr. Edward Tiller back on there.
Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Compton and Mr. Tiller for the Finney Community Center.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Lovelace. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Also, we come to number 5 in new business, which was added previously. This is a planning commission appointment. This is for District 2. So, if I may be indulged just a minute. Mr. Collins, that we previously approved for that appointment, is unable to serve in that position. And so District 2 will now be looking for another position. I have an application from Philip Addison. I'm asking the board to give me a nomination for that particular seat.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of the other one and then appoint Philip Addington. Is it Addington?
Addington.
Addington, ma'am?
Yes, and so we need to do that in 2 separate motions, I'm assuming.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of
Charlie Collins.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and now we'll move on to adding Mr. Addison to the PSA from District 2.
I'll make a motion to add Philip Addington to the planning commission.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, 2 seconds, and all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. Now, we're going to go back to presentations since Mr. Hancock has arrived. Mr. Hancock, we're glad to have you. You have 5 minutes.
All right. Generally, when people say they're glad to have me, I figure they're just being polite.
We're being polite, so thank you.
Actually, I don't have much of a presentation. Of course, then I handed out notebooks, I guess, last month of meetings. Everybody get a notebook, including you, Horace. You didn't hear me, did you?
I didn't hear you last time, except I saw on the computer. What are you asking me tonight?
Oh, I was just asking if you got your notebook from last meeting. Okay, good. All right. Actually, I have just, I think, one question. That is, now, you folks all know who I am, because I've been here before. And I know you have. Took me a while to figure out who you were with that mask on. This way y'all's going to banks anyway. How many, and I'd like to see a show of hands, how many of you folks have been up to see the property that I'm talking about and have been around the back? Not just been up there to see it from the front, because the front's not where the offensive materials are the back. Now, I know, Lonzo, you went up there, I think, with Bill Watson, but I don't know if you and Bill went around the back. I know you said the guy wasn't very pleasant, which is my experience with him as well. But be that as it may, how many of you guys have been up there and been around the back? Just raise your hand.
I didn't go around the back.
I didn't go around the back.
Well, that's,
But you can see the back.
yeah, well, yeah. Although it's really hard to even see from back there, although there's a way. I have to laugh. That gentleman called the police on me, tried to have me arrested for invasion of privacy, trespassing. And the officers came up, but, well, anyway. I have represented the subdividers for years, and so I know where all the lot lines are. And by the way, if that generates a question as to why I'm here when I represent the subdividers, back in the 70s probably, when this subdivision was done, and I didn't do it, actually Dennis Jones did it at that time. Probably the latest, greatest thing in this area of the country was what you call a subdivision with regular cross covenants. In other words, when you buy a lot in that subdivision, you're subject to the same restrictions as everyone else. And that's what restrictions apply to this gentleman's property. Now, he has, on occasion, said crude things to me about his right to do whatever the heck he wanted with that property, and that's a euphemism. But I have always said, I just need a yes or a no. I think we can enforce it, but I believe I told I've told some people that pits neighbor against neighbor, and I don't necessarily want to do that. I used to do divorce work when I was young, and had lots of people wanted to shoot me. Told me they would, but I've gotten kind of used to that. But some of the old folks that live up to my street don't. They really don't want to be involved with that in name, okay? So I always took the position on this Matter of fact, it shows how foolish I was. One of my neighbors got upset about it. I forget who said something to me about it, so, or several of them said something to me. So I said, well, we have an ability to go and join the business activities there, or in my estimation we do. But that's on us. We pay for that because this is not a planned unit development, it's not a condominium. We don't pay dues every month to pay for attorney's fees, swimming pools, all that. But the good news is I'll do it for free for the attorney. You know, the attorney work won't cost you anything, but it would really be, and I'm not charging for this, haven't charged a penny at all. Not planning on charging a penny, but I said that the best way, and as a matter of fact, that was right about the time I noticed you guys were enacting the new ordinance in 2020. So I said, well, heck, they're enacting a new ordinance. So I said that the county really ought to do it because I've got the old ordinance here, of course, and I got the new ordinance, but I guess that's when I talk to Lonzo first. But anyway, it's been a trip. But fool I was to say it ought to be simple to get the Board of Supervisors to act, and I have been told everything in the world. But I said I'd be brief. Anytime you guys want to ask me about the whole story, that's fine, because it is a comedy of errors, and I don't think anybody really understands where I'm coming from. I've written to Katie, I've written to a lot of people. But anyway, so I'm just here to see what you guys want to do, and that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. I think your time is up, and we appreciate you coming. I would defer this to Mr. Lester and the county attorney.
Sure.
The board has a right to say what they want to, and they can make comment at this time. But as chair, I would send that over to Mr. Lester and our county attorney.
All right.
Mr. Madam Chair. Solicitor, there's been actions on this property, enforcement actions.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
Mr.
but you go over all that, what's been done.
I can. So, give me a little bit of time. Mr. Hancock, this is the property you're referring to right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Matter of fact, that may be one of my photographs.
No, those are mine.
Okay.
And I'll go through how long we've been working on this. So, in the board packet that I gave them, of course, this is litter ordinances. This is the property that you're referring to here that's outlined here. That's on Kennedy, on the corner of Starnes Drive and Kennedy Drive. This is the location.
Yeah, although that looks like a satellite photo that I tendered, because that's not messy like the property.
Right, that's our GIS system, So when we were notified back in 2020, since then, we've had 3 deputies.
By the way, so these folks will understand the GIS is the Geographical Information System, am I correct?
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. Yes, it is. So we gave a 2-week notice to, let me go through all this. We gave a 2-week notice to Mr. Hicks to clean up. And it was given to Mr. Hicks by Cuba Porter Jr. back here, that's sitting back here. Now that was in March of 2020. Now, during that time, we have been going through and reviewing the property on a continuous basis. As you can see, each one of these is date and time stamped on the time that we have inspected each and every time. When you called the first time, this is, as everyone can see, this is 2021, this is February the 25th of 2021.
May I interrupt you for a second, just so we can get on with things?
Yes. We-
You can't, in order to keep from going to jail, you can scroll out some. This gentleman threatened me with invasion of privacy and trespassing. Well, I didn't understand the trespassing part because I was actually over here at the ditch line. And the ditch line is there, the streets over there, the paved streets are 50 feet wide on paper. But they're significantly narrower, especially Stars Drive, which has never been taken in the state system. So I was standing out here and I was taking photographs of him intentionally. I knew he was there. Matter of fact, I accidentally activated my video of him and got him threatening me and saying crude things that hurt my feelings. Now, what I want you to know, and I'm glad you got a good camera, because if you look at all this stuff, see that? That's all still there. It's under snow right now, okay? I just wanted you to know, unless you go and you look, and by the way, his lot line, also, over here, there's a fence,
Yes.
and his lot line doesn't really start right about that tree.
No.
So you can actually go up there and walk along that fence there and take close-up photographs
Yeah.
without getting on his property.
Go ahead and let me proceed.
Sure.
From February to now. Thank you. So this is when you made the call to the county. This is when we went out and did our inspection of it. During that time, this is what the property looked like that we gave him notice on to clean up. To remember this.
Actually, I don't believe it. Are you sure that's?
Yeah, these are date stamped and time stamped. That is February the 25th, 2021. Those are time.
That's 2021? 2021.
Yes, 2000.
I first called up there. I first talked with Deputy Sheriff and up here in the Sheriff's office.
Mhm.
In 2020, February 2020. I've been on this since February 2020. And I know about when they came up there, and I know about what they told him. So,
Please let me continue.
Sure.
So we've had 3 deputies out there. Mr. Watson, Mr. Cuba Porter, and Mr. Hyder. So we've had 3 deputies up there that's reviewed this. So again, this is when we gave the notice to begin with it, and as I go through each one of these, as we can see.
now wait a minute. You know what irritates me about this, and I'm going to say my piece, and you can have me thrown out if you want, but how come it's been 2 years since I complained, and the first time I see you guys have done anything other than hearing from Cuba Porter himself that he went up there and told them that the only thing that they enforced was trash. Now, why is that? What we need is a court hearing, and I'll be glad to have one. Why don't you guys just cut to the chase and tell me what you want to do? Do you think it applies
Mr.
or
Hancock.
not?
Can we continue?
Mr. Hancock.
When we give the notice to the resident.
But why don't I, the complaining party, get a copy of that? Now,
You
I have
definitely-
had discussion. Now, wait a minute.
Mr. Hancock.
Don't,
Mr. Hancock, I'm asking you, I'll have you removed. Now, we're going to discuss this in another place, so I'm not cutting you
Are we?
off. Yes, sir.
oh, good.
We're going to discuss this in another place. I
Oh,
think
good.
that you need to take this up with the county administrator and work on this
Well,
as you
now that's-
possibly can.
That's okay. I think there's a lot of communication that needs to go on, because I really think, I've been thinking all along that there needs to be more communication here. And I don't think by listening to Mr. Lester tonight that we're gonna get the whole story. As a matter of fact, even though I gave everybody an upload, that's not even the whole
Mr.
story.
Hancock,
Yes, ma'am.
we're
Okay.
finished. We appreciate you, really. And we're gonna try to work on this, so let's just leave it there for the time being, and then we're gonna move on.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
But those pictures were 20.
Mr. Hancock,
Yeah.
you're finished. Okay, the next thing we're going on is to citizens' comment period. Now, if you have signed up, you're welcome to come and speak your piece tonight for 3 minutes. Do we have anyone that signed up to speak? Okay, no citizens' comment period right now. Constitutional officers and reports, do we have any of those that was sent in? No. County attorney reports and requests. Ms. Patton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing under my reports is the noise ordinance that I was directed to format for Russell County. The ordinance that you all have, the proposed ordinance that you all have in front of you, I've adapted from the Albemarle County noise ordinance. It was far more specific than the original one we considered. The only issue that I came across when I was revising it to take out any references to zoning or other code sections that Albemarle County had was on, let's see, I think it's on page 5. Yes, it's at the bottom of page 5, and that section says general sound levels prohibited. And in that, and I took out some of the language that they had in that did not make any sense for us, but they put that it's unlawful for any person to produce sound that causes at least 15 dBA increase in the sound level above the ambient sound level. And then it said, as determined pursuant to County Code 18-4.18. And that's what I have provided you, is this section here talked about procedure for measuring sound, but as you can see, this is a pretty voluminous document in and of itself. And so before if the board wanted to move forward with advertising this for adoption, I just wanted to get feedback from the board, how specific or how do you want to word that section as general sound levels prohibited, because again, the section that details it is in another part of Albemarle's code, and it's very, very voluminous. And so my first instinct was that you would not want to have all of that language, but I just needed a little bit more guidance on how you wanted that to be determined.
Okay?
Madam Chair, could we have until the next meeting to review this ordinance?
I would definitely entertain that as a motion.
Katie, we really haven't seen it in a finished form. I'd like an opportunity to look at it and make comments on it, and then be in a position next board meeting to recommend either moving forward, whatever. That'd be okay?
Sure, no problem. And I can make any changes if you want to send them to me between now and then, and I'll look at some more at this language that they have for how it's, because I think that's a pretty important thing, is how the violation is determined.
Absolutely. That's the key to the whole thing, is being able to some way to determine if and when you enforce it.
Yes, I think there's some provisions in the ordinance that help with that, but that one section was a little bit problematic. I couldn't just revise it. I needed to know exactly what we wanted to do and what's feasible, because one of the things that lists are devices and how they're calibrated, and so we might want to make sure that we can get access to those.
Is this the attachment
Yes.
that you gave us? Okay. All right.
I'm just want to ask a question, Katie, if you don't care.
Sure.
When it comes to F on firearms, I said it, on all these, on the exemptions, but it doesn't say anything about hunters or hunting. It doesn't list, it says shooting range, shooting, preserve, or target, trap, or skeet range, exemptions, or a gun club, but what about the normal hunter out here that hunts?
Well, we can definitely add that. That might not have been something that they decided to include in Albemarle County, but that's something we can always add. And I think that may have been covered in the proposed noise ordinance that Lonzo first presented to you, so I might can pull that language. And just if you see other concerns, again, this is more, there are some rural areas to Albemarle County, but we think of it as more of an urban area, and they may not have the same concerns that we do.
Okay, so I'm hearing a consensus from this board that we're going to move forward with this we're going to doctor it up, so to speak. Okay. Thank you, Katie. Now, moving on to the Russell County Employee Insurance Retirement Program.
Yes, the board asked me to look at this. I had initially been asked to look at this regarding what the school, the Russell County schools do with, this is a retirement incentive, and the retirement incentive that they've offered for years I knew was legally sound. That's something they've been doing for a while. The issue that first came was a concern of mine was whether or not, because we have all these different agencies and agency heads, whether there was some kind of way to keep up with the sick time to report back, because the retirement incentive allows Russell County employees who have worked at least 15 years to use sick days up to a certain amount to buy basically health insurance to help cover the cost of the health insurance. And so at first I asked Lonzo if maybe we should just do the flat fee, but I think it's probably, he explained it was probably more economical because we were going to be paying out that time anyways, and that time, that sick time that they would be using would be, is reportable and is tracked every year. So that was my only concern in you all implementing this program, is that you would not have a uniform way of enforcing it the way that the schools do. But after I spoke with Lonzo, and he said that, you know, he would be paying that time out no matter what, because that's accounted for and that has to be paid out any sick time, that could be used as an incentive for anybody who's worked over 15 years. So I am fine with the proposed policy for retirement. I did suggest to Lonzo that we might pass a separate resolution, not this, to allow anyone within this 90-day period that retires to avail themselves, if they meet all the eligibility requirements, to avail themselves of this policy, because you do have to give 90 days notice. And so if you have somebody, if the board does decide to adopt the policy tonight and somebody retires between now and 90 days, technically they would not have time, and so I would just waive it for the initial 90 days if you want to pass the policy.
Well, something I think we need to take into consideration, that this is, the insurance is with the school board, and Ms. Tammy, I was going to say Caldwell, but Gilbert now, she's the one that does all this. She pulls all this together, gets everybody's sick days, keeps their files, signs all their documents, and I mean, I just think we need to include her to explain it to all of us, what it is, because it is percentages. It's 60%, 66%, 70%, and Tammy has not been involved in this, and she's who basically does it for everybody. So, I mean, that's just a thought.
I also think that we should table, because we really need to get more information. How many people is approaching this retirement time? How many years they got in? Right now, I think it's 15 years, got 15 years of service, got 50 years of age. Is that? And I'm kind of like Rebecca. I feel like make a wise decision. Now, this is a financial decision that's going to cost money to the taxpayer, because the taxpayer is going to put the money where you take it out to pay these people. And we need to really know the ins and outs and how many people and when they're subject to retire and all before we make this decision. I'm for helping the people. These people have been out 20 years, 25, 30 years. I wouldn't want to try to knock them out of anything. It's just that before we take this broad step, we need more information in order to take this step.
Katie, is this the same as the school board?
Yes, that's my understanding. Lonzo pulled it from it.
Well,
We did eliminate one of the options.
Tammy doesn't take care of all the county employees, does she? As far as sick leave and such?
No.
Okay.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Well, Vicki
She
does
can
that.
explain it. And Vicki, when we have any medical things, Vicki kind of call Tammy and she'll work on it, and she does.
To me, this is just saying that you're trading your accumulated sick days for payment. It's a way that we can pay out. We're going to have to pay that. If somebody has 175 days, we're going to have to pay it, either write a big check or let them take it out as payments, you know, we can sort of spread it out. Isn't that right, Lonzo? We spread out the
Yes.
payments in insurance payments.
Yes. The program is set up to start for county employees to convert their retirement, the way it's written right here for the school board, and I'm going to elaborate on it. For 15 years, they can take up to 175 hours and pay it towards what we call a health insurance credit.
Days,
Yes,
175
Thank
days,
you,
not
ma'am.
hours.
Thank you, ma'am. 175 hours, days, days,
Days.
towards a healthcare credit, which will pay for their insurance up to retirement. But there's also the other side of the coin. Now, that I would have to liquidate. When an employee retires, I have to liquidate whatever time they've accumulated. That's an easy one. But one of the things that also the board has to consider, because you got to know it becomes like a pension liability. It is a liability long-term, because right now, the way that it is written, it's written for a single policy. It does not cover the employee's spouse. It does not cover the employee's siblings. It is a single policy for a retiree. Now, based off our health insurance, what it costs for one single employee, Steve sits on the board, and Tim does too, you will incur 60% of that liability from the county. So those 15 that you have that are eligible right now, you would have, depending upon their years of tenure, you would incur that liability up to a maximum of 7 years. So that would be an impact to the county that y'all need to consider. So
7 years until they're eligible for
or Medicare, yes, one or the other.
Whichever.
It's just
That
7
is
years.
correct.
Well, one of the things I've always said is we need to treat people fairly and equally.
Yeah.
Because this should have been taken care of a long time ago based on, you know, some getting certain benefits. Because if you've got employees that's been here 15, 20 years, this is all they've got to look forward to at the end of their tenure, is being able to get these kind of benefits. And I don't want to hold them out.
No, I don't need it.
Spending 20 years of employment with Russell County and then just say, well, you know, it's a great investment. You're going to get a good return on your investment when you take care of the people.
Well, I've had several people ask me, you know, they've tried to retire and they can't, you know, it's such a financial impact on their insurance. And if you've got over 30 years, you can get 85% of your insurance paid by the board, you know, in trade for those days. So I think that's something we need to do just immediately.
And at the end of the 7 years, say like you're 40 years old and 50 years in, then that, in 7 years, your insurance stops. See, it's a 7-year.
Yeah, it says 7 years or until you are eligible for Medicare.
Medicare.
In other words, you're saying.
So if you're 62 and you retire, then you've got it. I mean, you'll get your,
That's correct.
and in fact, you might even have a balance on your sick days, you know.
But if you're 55 and you're going to retire and get Medicare at 62, you're
65. You can only get Medicare at 65.
but you can take Social Security at 62.
Yeah, but
Yeah, Social Security.
Social Security, but
just
you can't take
Medicare.
Medicare. Yes, that is correct.
My wife took it at 62. That's why I don't remember about Medicare.
yeah.
So in order to get to Medicare, you have to be 65. So they can retire at 58.
They can retire at 50 per this policy, if they got 15 years of service. Madam Chair, may I make a suggestion?
Yes,
And
thank you.
I know you're going to, since Mr. Breeden sits on healthcare, can you appoint a committee with the county administrator, 2 board members, the Vicky Porter, the HR, and Tammy Gilbert? Tammy's, to look at this, to present to the next board.
I don't want to drag this out any further than next board meeting.
That way,
Okay.
that way the liability.
Because people have been waiting on this for 5 or 6 months, and they've been told that it's going to happen. So they put off their retirement for that long.
Yes. And
I like your idea, Katie, about making it retroactive.
We did
90
discuss
days.
that.
I think we need to include that in there.
we did discuss it. So
Yeah, I
that's
understand
my,
all of that.
if the board, we don't want to lose it for the employees. That, you know, everybody's
So
nodding their head,
you
so
want the insurance committee, Tim and me, and you and Vicky?
whoever the chair
Yes.
wants to appoint.
Please. Are you guys okay with that?
You okay?
All right.
That way we can present it to the next board with the liability component. Because the up portion, the first portion of it, the liquidation of what they've accrued up to the 175 days is easy. That's guaranteed. By law, we have to pay that.
Get it, don't worry.
That's it. Either you pay it out lump sum or you want to accrue it into credit. This way we can look at the number of employees that we got coming up for retirement age and what we'll be accruing on the books, because this thing will have to be reported as an accrual for insurance. So I think that you give the full picture to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Lester.
Yes,
I
I would like
appreciate
to
that.
have full picture before I take a vote in favor or against. I mean, I'd like to know more, have more information.
Well,
before we
they'll-
vote tonight.
Okay.
When this committee goes and meets with Tammy, comes back, I like to have time, not just lay it down and say, review that. You all know, I've done, like I said, that I don't like something being laid down here on me. I have time to read and research and everything, and then turn around and vote before I do it. I like to study things and research before I
We'll have a full report for the board.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. You need to press your microphone for the folks out in TV land, I guess. Number 3 on the county attorney reports is the Cumberland Industries Facility Authority Executive Director contract.
Yes, Madam Chair. I've received the executed copy back from Chase Collins, the Tazewell County Attorney, today, and I'll email the board a copy of that, but I'll just sort of give you a gist. I mean, each county of the 4 counties, Dickinson, Tazewell, Russell, Buchanan, all appropriated a sum of money to hire this executive director to work on behalf of this region for economic development. The board, the SIFA board did approve that, and the attorneys finalized the contract, and I think she, do you know when she signed it, Lonzo? Or has she signed, or has she just received it?
She has received it and she has accepted it.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions? I mean, she will be an independent contractor of the SIFA authority, and so her contract states is for 1 year and is subject to appropriation from all the boards. So I mean, you know, it's kind of an experiment. Hopefully it'll work out. Hopefully she can bring industrial development to this region. But if any board is not satisfied, then they don't have to reappropriate the money.
Do you need any action on this? Just for information. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, moving on to number 4, the Southwest Regional Jail.
Yes, Lonzo provided me an agreement and a resolution, which is, you know, basically to adopt the city of Bristol into the Regional Jail Authority. It was an agreement where BRA and the Jail Authority voted to accept them in. It's my understanding from talking to Lonzo that the authority did vote to accept them in. The resolution that's before the board tonight to approve, the gist of it is basically it's asking you to approve to accept Bristol in, and basically stating that none of your obligations relating to the prior 2013-2020 bonds will be changed. Obviously, there will be the one thing that the agreement that was not attached was the Exhibit A, which will talk about Bristol, what they have to contribute, and those things. But basically, I mean, I don't know how it will change financially. I don't know if Lonzo has any more information for that, but if the board is willing to move forward with this, it's my understanding it's the request of the Regional Jail Authority Board for Russell County to approve this tonight.
Madam Chair, can I elaborate, or Tim? From the county's perspective, of course, everyone knows the city of Bristol has had issues with their jail, and Tim can elaborate on that more because he sits on the authority, and so does Mr. Christian. From the county's perspective, it is approximately a $70,000 to $80,000 savings because they're helping pay for the cost. They're going to help for the operational cost, and they're going to help with the debt cost. So from the impact, now Mr. Lovelace and Mr. Christian sits on it so they can tell more about the program itself. But from the county's perspective, it's an $70,000 to $80,000 savings.
Let me ask you, when I read the thing, it implied that they could have some sort of financial savings for what, renovation of jail, or what are they doing some capital work in Bristol?
Yes, sir.
And there's an advantage being part of the Regional Jail Authority. They get better rates.
Better rates.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's exactly
And
correct.
everyone else will too, because part of the agreement is that they have to pay a premium per diem
Yes.
for 10 years. Plus they have to pay for a minimum number of inmates, whether they have them or not.
They gotta get caught up.
They gotta get caught up. Exactly.
Good
Guaranteed
deal.
minimum contribution.
Okay.
We can see them.
So the next is on the agenda for the county administrator reports and requests.
I'm sorry, Matt, is the board,
We need to have a
make a
motion
motion to
on
approve
that.
that?
Okay, I apologize.
To approve the resolution?
Yes, I'll entertain a motion to accept Bristol, Virginia into the regional jail.
I'll make that
Authority.
motion, Madam Chair.
Mr. Lovelace made the motion. Second by Mr. Christian. Any discussion? We've already had that. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, motion carries. Now moving on to the county administrator reports and requests.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the county administrator reports and requests, the first one on the list is the 2022 VACO Virginia Rural Center and Rural Caucus reception. This is for your all's information only. This will take place February the 2nd and the 3rd. This is for the Rural Caucus. This will be in Richmond. Some of the board members that will be attending, of course, this is also the local government day, with VACO and VML, that will be discussing, things that the counties and legislators will be addressing during this legislative period. It will be, as the board members attend, it will be very advantageous, to attend these meetings because of the rapid changes that's going to happen legislatively, economic development, and especially with the federal participation on various funds. So right now, there's anticipated great attendance on this from all the counties, even though there is a COVID, issue, but there will be a great attendance. Second thing on the county administrator requests and reports is, of course, your state and local economic interest and financial disclosure statements. It's that time of year again, so it's included in your packet. Please fill those out and return them to us by no later than the end of the month, because we have to have them submitted in the end of January. Yeah, end of the month. Thank you. Third thing is the Project Jonah, which is interjurisdiction agreement that we have with Tazewell County. I have spoke with Tazewell County. This jurisdiction agreement is a report only. Currently, right now, we have Project Jonah that is partial in Tazewell County and half in Russell County. So we're working and surveying on stormwater management and soil and erosion services. So each county right now is performing its own environmental services for stormwater management. It's being handled by DEQ, and each county is handling their ENS services on each side. Tazewell County is doing theirs, and we're handling theirs. We're also into the stage of blasting. We're also working with VDOT on the route to come out on 19. We're having to also have public notices along with Russell County and Tazewell County for lane closures that will close both northbound and southbound 19. So we're coordinating that with VDOT, which I don't see VDOT in here today, but we will be coordinating those blastings with that. What we have decided to do is, until the jurisdiction agreement will come in place, when we start collecting the building fees. That has been mentioned and has sent to us by the engineers. They're anticipating the set of plans and the building permits in March. That way that we can charge our fees to this. Right now, we're accruing these fees. We're keeping our own time. We're keeping our own time sheets because the building inspector's going out there. We're going out there doing their inspections, and Tazewell County is doing the same. So once we get these in place, I'll be coming back to the board for the jurisdiction agreement, so we would be able to charge back to the county this project and not incur $1 of county funds in this whatsoever. This is a private development. They will pay for these services. So Next, on the county administrator request,
You need any action on this?
no, it's just a report, yes, until it comes back for the building permit fees and activation.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Our permit fees are up to date, so we will be getting top dollar off of
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Next on county administrator report, the request is a request by the county administrator to all board members for a Russell County full-time litter officer. Let me explain. We have, as y'all have seen previously in the meeting, we have utilized the sheriff's department, but of course the sheriff's department have other duties. It's hard for them to come off of their routes and their movements to take on litter control. We also have looked at internal alignment. That didn't work either. So also we have looked at hiring a part-time litter control bailiffs. I have worked with the sheriff's department. But it's come to the point, along with what grants that we receive grants for litter pickup. Also, the fines that we can incur. I think that we are at the point, as long as other counties, because Mr. Eaton had asked us to check with the other counties. And currently Buchanan County and Dixon County, for the Waste Management Authority, have their own litter officer. They already have one. So I'm asking the board for permission for a full-time litter control officer that will be under the sheriff department. That's the way it will be, same as the way as animal control, but the operations will remain same way as animal control will be under the county. That way it will be an office that will be working with the building inspector, and they'll have a set schedule and are in review. That way we are working, they have police powers, but they will be working with the county to solve these litter issues. So I have been working with the sheriff, we have talked with him, and one of the things that has been suggested is they are looking at Southwest Virginia Community College, they're looking at their judicial school and the ones that's coming out of the academy, and to look at one that has a little bit maybe of environmental background and sheriff powers. So this one will be active. I know in the past that we had a sheriff as a head of litter control officer. It wasn't the sheriff's, but before we never had an animal control under the sheriff. So this will give it structure between the sheriff's department and the county operations and county reporting back to the BOS. I think this will be a great position and it'll pay for itself. At least give me 1 year to see what we can do. Thank you. Now that one I need a motion.
I will entertain a motion for a Russell County litter officer.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion from Ms. Dye. I need a second.
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Breeding. Any further discussion?
No, he will be,
Or should be.
has to follow, he has to go through, he's coming out of the academy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he'll be carry firearm. I'm convinced anybody carries firearm has to come through the sheriff's department.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Well, I will tell you this too, there's a really great piece of legislation I think Senator Hackworth is getting through. We've met with him on these retirees that retire from a police position. They don't have to go back through the academy. If that gets passed, there's going to be an opportunity that those guys can be utilized and gals can be utilized in many various types of opportunities. Retirees that don't have to, they retire and then they're not forced to go back through the academy to go through the regiment, but they can still serve in a great capacity in different areas. So we need to really support and send out emails or whatever to support this piece of legislation that he's filed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Larry, that was if they had done it if they had retired within a certain period of time, not way back on, but, well, that's recent.
Yeah.
That's why I would understand that they would
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion? We have a motion on the table. All in favor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the county administrator request is, of course, the Department of Criminal Justice Violence Against Women grant for $62,009. I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved.
Again, next on the county administrator request is the Department of Criminal Justice. Yeah, this is the 2021 mitigating COVID-19 pandemic risk. That is $47,189 that was awarded to the Russell County Sheriff's Department in addition to the other CARES funds. Need a motion for approval and acceptance.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Dye. Do I have her second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the county administrator request is the Russell County Sheriff Vehicle Surplus. This is a request by the Sheriff's Department to declare these vehicles as surplus: a 2008 Ford E50 van, a 2000 International Horton, a 1999 Freightliner, a 1995 soft top Humvee. Bill's getting rid of the Humvee. 2011 Dodge Charger. And the reason that we are doing this is the authorization to request. The authorization is for a request to liquidate them for a government auction to proceed with the Russell County Board of Supervisors to purchase a 2000 Freightliner, which will be utilized as a crime scene vehicle. They're consolidating these 5 vehicles into one. And also, let me elaborate back on the litter officer. The litter officer will be supplied a car by the Sheriff's Department. It will have Russell County litter officer on this. This is part of the agreements. So I need approval to surplus these 5 vehicles to proceed with the Russell County crime scene vehicle.
So moved.
We have a motion. Need a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 8, VDOT resolution.
Yes, ma'am. There's a VDOT resolution that was asked by VDOT to be put on for the Route 743, the 0.20 miles of discontinuance on Route 743. This is part of VDOT's request. This is an annual inventory that they do. They asked for discontinuance on this portion, but they have not done maintenance on it, and I think for poor construction or anything for 38 years. I think that's what it says. So it says the Virginia Department of Transportation has notified Russell County Board of Supervisors of its intent to discontinue a section of Route 743, 2.35 miles west of Route 650 to 2.15 miles west of Route 650, a distance of 0.20 miles. They're asking for a resolution for approval for discontinuance of this dead-end piece of road.
That's on Roller Coaster Road.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Breeding, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ray. Any discussion further? I'll call for the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, that concludes the county administrator's reports and requests.
Thank you. So we're down to board discussion and reminders. Have I left off anything tonight?
No, ma'am.
All right. I'll go through District 1.
I'll just mention that, David and I talked about the litter officer, and I did ask Carl, and I brought it up whenever Carl and I were at the last meeting. And what we did tonight is what all the surrounding counties are doing, and they highly recommend that, so kudos to the board. Yeah.
Never done much of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I knew we were going to do that. We found out the difference in
Yeah, and some of them have 2.
Somebody, yes.
Mr. Ray?
No, Madam Chair.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes, ma'am. I just have a couple of things. Back when I first got elected, I've brought this issue up numerous times. I'm going to bring it up again tonight. I'd like for our budget committee to ask the school board for a plan to look at our teachers' wages and our low-end individuals, our school bus drivers, our cooks, and those. One of my biggest concerns is that we need to be competitive in some form or fashion. I'm not saying this is an overnight fix. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that I'm looking for alternative education sources. What I'm saying is we need to make sure that we can keep and hire and retain talent here in Russell County. And we're not going to be able to do that unless we fix this issue. There's no way that based on a percentage raise that we'll ever catch up to these surrounding counties. We're going to continue to lose talent if we don't support our teachers and look at a way, some way, to be able to fix this issue. This has been, we didn't create the problem. This has been something that should have been directed and handled 20 years ago, but it wasn't. It should have been looked at deeply on how we could continue to maintain and keep up with this competitive edge as far as being able to compete with these other counties. I know we don't have as many in population. I understand that fully. And I am not for school consolidation and shutting down our schools. I know there's a way to do this without having to look at being threatened for cuts in other areas. We need to take this serious and look at it so we'll have people move here, live here, and want to work here in Russell County. Second thing is, during the holidays, we need to do something about our trash situation. I mean, guys, listen. If we can't set out extra cans and leave these gates open so people can throw their holiday trash away, and we're putting all that in the back of pickup trucks and they're driving down the road and it's going out all over the road before they get to the trash site, we're losing control of this. And it shouldn't be hard to fix. It just takes a little common sense to be able to look at this situation and be able to say, let's just leave the gates open, let's add extra containers so people can throw away their holiday trash. I mean, and then we're sending all these people out to pick up the garbage off the side of the roads. It don't make no sense to me. Another thing I would like to thank our Sheriff Steve Dye and our police force, state troopers, investigators, for their quick reaction to an incident that happened about a week ago. I guess everybody's heard about it, with the shooting, and then the suspect was down around where my oldest son lived. They were all contained in their homes, and the suspect, I guess, was apprehended, or a self-inflicted gunshot wound is what I'm hearing. But I want to thank them for their quick response, for what they did and the engagement they had with our citizens within that area. They protected people, they communicated well with them, and they kept people inside until this was taken care of. And I am so grateful. I've got a brand new grandbaby that lives down there. And you know, you don't never think about it till it happens to you and in your back door. My son's very capable of taking care of himself and his family, but there's a lot of people down there, a lot of in that neighborhood, and elderly people, that this could have turned out a lot worse. And I just want to say I'm really grateful, and that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Breedy?
I'm just going to follow up a little bit with what David talked about, teacher salaries. The reason these across-the-board mandates that we get from the state won't work is because when you do a 5%, say for example in Washington County versus a 5% in Russell County, the gap between what we pay and what they pay just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We have to come up with some way to get away from these across-the-board mandates and apply those funds that they require us to pump into the school system to be used in a more equitable way to try to get these salaries of some of the teachers up. I think the minimum wage increases are probably going to take care of a lot of the low-end people, because and it's minimum wage of $11 an hour now, and it's going to go what, to 13? Eventually it'll go to 15.
It just went to 11.
Yeah, it just went to 11 January 1st, but I think maybe next year it goes to maybe, I don't know, maybe it's 13, 12, 50, 13, I don't know.
25.
What was that?
Big Macs go to 25.
Yeah.
When they get it up there, Big Macs will be 25.
Okay.
That's the truth.
No comments from Peanut. Yeah. And we still need to make a decision on the Wallace property that's tied into the jail, the parking lot. I still get calls from Mr. Wallace, and he wants an answer, and we've got to make some decision on what you're going to do with it, That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Dye?
No, thank you.
Mr. Christian?
I want to reply to what David and Steve were talking about, this difference in teachers' pay in this county and others. I'm for that, but first of all, we gotta have a source of money coming in. Y'all know anyway, we've lost coal severance tax, we've lost people, the population down, bringing jobs in, but getting them jobs in, until then, we can't take that step. You said not overnight, which we can't. Until we get these jobs in, get people coming in, and get some source of revenue to have that money there to pay them, we can't do it. We look at these different things and different phases of it, and it's good to plan, but we can plan, but we can't take that bold step until we see that we got a source of revenue that we can take care of with.
Mr. Christian, the only thing I've asked for since the beginning is a plan, I've just asked for them to come together and let's just look at it. It might be a 5-year plan, a 10-year, I don't know. But I've asked for a plan of action to show how do we get from point A to point B. That's all I've asked for.
Who are you asking, the budget committee or?
Budget committee to meet with the school system to see how we can generate a plan to be able to fix it. That's all I've asked for, is a plan. We got a lot of smart people.
So you're wanting the budget committee to make a plan for the school board?
I just like for our budget committee to be able to communicate with the school board system.
So the school board needs to come back to us with their plan, what they're gonna do.
We've asked for that numerous times and haven't received anything
From them?
from them.
We have to have from them to us.
Well, I think it'd be appropriate for the county budget committee to work with the school.
Yeah.
To come up with some sort of plan.
Well,
The county needs to have input, but specifically because what you talked about, Horace.
Yeah.
But we don't know how much money we're gonna have to have. I mean, the state says, Northam sent down a 5% increase this year and a 5% next year. Now, we've got the option of sending it back to them and just not doing any raises at all if we can't come up with the money. Our problem is that, that only takes care of part of the teachers, the SOQ, right?
Yes,
And there's umpteen other, people within the county who, if we just did what the state wants us to do, wouldn't get a raise at all. We took the position right from the get-go that wouldn't be right, So, we just need to come up with some plan, It's not gonna be easy, but you need to work with them and see what you can get them to do. Yeah.
We've discussed this with the new governor, and I think the Secretary of Education, to meet with them and to have this discussion to see how we can come up to speed down here in the Coalfield County. And what it is, we're just competing against each other consistently for that person. But we're the 3rd lowest in the whole state of Virginia in pay. That's bad.
It is, but if you have, like I said, you ain't got the revenue to do it.
Okay, well, not trying to cut you off, but our new budget committee will work toward that request, and I will make sure that I asked you about that in a month or so. We'll see where we get. How's that? Fair enough? All right. And from District 2, I don't have anything except to say thank you to the board tonight for the litter officer. I am so pleased to hear this. Steve, I was going to hold your feet to the fire, because that's what you said last time. We're going to get us one. Thank you so much. District 2 appreciates this. Thank you. And in closing, February 7th is the next board meeting, and
Do we need to reconvene, because we'll all be in Richmond on the...
We need to adjourn to reconvene in Richmond?
Adjourn to reconvene, Patty?
Do you have enough going? Patty's gone.
No.
I always advise that you adjourn to reconvene if you're going, because you're obviously going to be together and discussing county business. So if more than 2 of you are going, then I always recommend that.
I'll make a motion. We always adjourn to reconvene.
All right, we've got a motion to adjourn to reconvene in Richmond, Virginia. Need a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? So we're good to go with that. Next meeting, February 7th, here at the boardroom, 6 o'clock. I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, you adjourned already.
I did. Do you want me to